I'm Jenny Powers, the co-author of the new book on the origin of being, Understanding the Science of Evolution to Enhance Your Quality of Life. I'd first like to thank the Boulder Bookstore for this opportunity to share our book with you on this platform and for just supporting local authors like us by stocking our books on their shelves. It was just a highlight of my life when I came into the store in June and saw this sitting right there on the shelf in their local authors section. Um, Although my origins are those of the Air Force brat, I have a lot of Colorado in my blood. My mom went born and raised in Colorado Springs and met my dad at the Air Force Academy. But I came back here to Colorado to go to CU Boulder in the 90s. I went I played basketball there under Seal Berry, and in 97, I received my bachelor's in chemical engineering. And then in 2005, I got my PhD in immunology and microbiology from what is now CU Anschutz. And then after a 5-year postdoc fellowship at National Jewish Health, I left academia to raise my kids and pursue a writing career. So my husband and 2 kids and I now live in Lakewood, and my co-author, Luke Comer, lives in Boulder. In On the Origin of Being, we pay homage to Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species and our evolutionary history as we answer the question, how do we live a good life? As modern humans, we're bombarded on all sides with people and institutions telling us how to live a good life. But given the amount of disease, dissatisfaction, conflict, addiction that we face today, I don't think we're really succeeding. Our approaches to modern behaviors around sleep, food, work, even the world around us is just not seeming to work all that well. So we need a new approach to life. And in our case, a very old approach. Instead of being compelled by modernity, instead of reevaluating and reframing our old practices, and instead of constructing a path based on my or Luke's personal experiences, we want to focus our approach through the lens of science. And specifically, we investigate how we literally evolved to thrive in this world. And the key to live a good life is simply living the way we evolved to live. Our physical, mental, social health, and vitality are compromised because present day humans are physiologically mismatched to our exponentially changing environment. And we're no longer living in accord to our evolved natures. So, in the book, by tracing the evolutionary origins of many behaviors, sometimes from single-celled organisms, all the way through hunter-gatherers, we reveal how modernity disrupts these behaviors, but we also share tools about how to realign with our primal selves. So, for decades, Luke studied human biological and cultural evolution after he identified that his fundamental human needs were being unmet by modern society. His studies primarily focused on nutrition, and he discovered that what the modern world provides us to eat is completely mismatched to how we evolved to eat. In fact, he realized that many facets of our modern life, so-called ways of being, are mismatched to our biology. So, as he wrote his own in-depth book on the evolution of nutrition, which is coming out soon, he began to hold a vision for this more comprehensive book that explores multiple topics and looked for a way to make it a reality. So, as I entered my postdoc in the mid 2000s, I was completely caught up in this country's kind of hustle culture. I worked very long hours, sometimes 80 hours a week, and my worth was tied to my accomplishments, not who I was as a person. And as you can probably guess, none of that was good for my physical or mental health. And I burned out and I became really depressed. And in my healing, I realized 2 things. The first thing was that the life I was living did not truly align with my values. And two, I always wanted to be a writer. So I left academia. I had my 2 kids and I started to write, and I wrote middle grade novels and adult short stories, and none of them are published yet, unfortunately. And I met Luke after responding to his job ad, who was looking for somebody to start doing research for his vision. And researching and writing this book did align with what I'd experienced in my life so far and what I wanted to experience in life. So I was 100% on board. and it was the perfect melding of my scientific training and my passion for writing. So it took me 3 years to research and write this book. Luke had originally conceptualized 10 topics, the four that I already mentioned: sleep, nutrition, work and rest, and our relationship with nature, but also social groups, child rearing, the sexes, the arts, religion and spirituality, and ritual. So my completed first draft, rough draft, contains all 10 topics, but our publisher, Greenleaf Books, River Grove, recommended that we split it into 3 books, making it a little shorter, more bite-sized. And so that led us to edit and polish the first 4 for this particular book. And for it, I read tons of scientific articles across many disciplines like medicine, genetics, anthropology, biology, nutrition, primatology, many, many more. I also read many, many books, and 2 that I'm going to show you are Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, which is an amazing book. Everyone should read it. And another book that I read was The World Until Yesterday by Jared Diamond, and he is of the Guns, Germs, and Steel fame. And this was very helpful in this book too, for this book. Then what I discovered in all of my research, I compiled it together into a hopefully highly readable narrative. So it may seem counterintuitive, but I think modern comfort and convenience has become harmful to our health. So in our climate controlled, artificially lit spaces, we are completely buffered from nature and all the signals it gives us on a daily basis, like the signals of light and dark. And signals like these are really important for our circadian rhythms to be reset every day. And these are the rhythms that control our levels of sleepiness and alertness, our heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, hormone levels, digestion, so many things. And so that's how modern convenience and comfort might affect sleep. Um, Also, I think the modern convenience and ease of obtaining prepackaged food at the grocery store makes it easy not to eat in a very healthy way, because most of these foods aren't made from whole foods like our ancestors ate. Rather, they're isolated ingredients such as refined sugar and flour, refined oil, and then fake foods like artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, preservatives, trans fats, and then they combine them all together and sell them. And so I think because modern convenience has made these foods so readily available, um, it makes it so people can't make very healthy choices in terms of eating whole food. So in terms of comfort for work and rest, we work in buildings, we sit in desks and chairs all day long. Um, we have couches and cars. We sit and sit and sit, and we don't really have to be active to live our lives. Um, we can sit in the car and get our groceries put in our back seat. Um, we can sit on our couch and order food. We sit in our couch and watch entertainment. We sit on the couch and look at our phones. So our ancestors, it's not like they weightlifted for an hour a day or ran marathons, but they were active throughout the entire day. They ran and dug and carried and threw and squatted. Um, and so I really think that the way that we approach work and the way that we're sedentary is really harmful to our health. So, and then finally, kind of tied into that is because we're inside all the time, it's more comfortable to be inside. We aren't out in nature. And not only is nature so good for our nervous system, um, and really an important part of who we are, nature needs us right now. And so the more we stay inside, the more we don't know about what's going on in our world around us. I think the harder it is to really understand how important it is that we not completely escape our lives by swiping on a screen or binge watching something, but actually engage in the outside world. In the book, we provide numerous evolutionary-based tools to help people realign their sleep, nutrition, work and rest, and relationship with nature. However, I think one thing stood out to me that kind of tied most of these tools together, or at least tied the way our ancestors approached life to how they lived and how they were able to stay in their health and wellness. Um, and that is that to survive, our ancestors needed to be aware of what was going on around them in the present moment, and they needed to be attuned to their own bodies and what was going on around them. So if they were tired, they slept. If they were hungry, they ate. They took care of their bodies because it was essential for their survival. Um, and at the same time, well, right now, modern humans never seem to be in the moment. We're either worrying about the future or regretting the past, or we're engaged in social media or entertainment that takes us out of the present moment. And we've lost the ability to perceive what our bodies are telling us because it's only in the now, right now, that our bodies tell us what it needs. And so returning to being more present takes practice, and many are already getting into mindfulness and meditation because of the health and wellness benefits. But learning how to be here now and being able to recognize the signals your body gives you and actually listen to your body, I think that's one thing people can do. So the books that I've read over the summer that I really loved, the first one is a nonfiction book. It's called So Much Stuff: How Humans Discovered Tools, Invented Meaning, and Made More of Anything. This is by Dr. Chip Colwell. He's an anthropologist. Um, and I know him. He's a friend of mine. But this is just a great history and a great understanding and maybe a reckoning of how modern humans have too much stuff and how it's affecting our mental health and it's affecting our planet. The other two fiction books that I've read recently, The Dutch House by Ann Patchett. This is my first Ann Patchett, and I really loved the characters, the siblings in this book, the brother and sister. Very well written, the relationship, you really cared about them. Um, and I have a really close relationship with my sister, so that's why I chose it. And finally, I read the first of this series by Becky Chambers called The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. It won the Hugo Award for Best Series. And even though this is set, it's science fiction, and but it's not hard science fiction. The world building is incredible, but what I love about it, it's very character driven, and talks a lot about just a lot of moral kind of social issues. So those are the three that I've read, and I highly recommend them. So we kind of like to think of this book as a self-help book, but it's based on scientific principles. So while this book is thoroughly backed by research, our target audience is both scientific minded and not non-scientific minded people, who are looking to improve their health and well-being. So therefore, while scientists can appreciate the studies and the research, the book is clear and practical and easy to understand for anyone. So we don't want anyone to be put off by the science of it. It really is made for anybody to read who is curious about living better and using science. Okay, so I'm going to read a passage from our book. It's in the second chapter, and it's called Realigning with Our Evolved Nature. Since we are, after all, still genetically Paleolithic people who struggle in our rapidly changing environment, who better to learn from than our ancestors themselves? Anthropologist Richard Lee suggests that although hunter-gatherers, quote, stand at the opposite pole from the dense urban life experienced by most of humanity, they may hold the key to some of the central questions about the human condition, about social life, politics, and gender, about diet and nutrition and living in nature, about how people can live and have lived without the state, about how to live without accumulated technology, and about the possibility of living in nature without destroying it, end quote. From their vantage point, hunter-gatherers would probably think the modern humans could use a lot of help. We've moved into densely populated cities, but don't interact with a single person all day. We eat convenient and prepackaged, but unhealthy foods while driving to our next commitment in our busy lives. We sit in front of computer screens and television sets and telephones every day and night and rarely exercise. Exposed to artificial light all day, some of us never get outside to see the sun or experience nature. Our sleep patterns are irregular and our work habits are backbreaking. Contemporary life is the root cause of much suffering, and we face observable pathologies as a result. Humans are now more prone to diseases like heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and musculoskeletal disorders such as rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. Mentally, we now experience more anxiety, fear, depression, loneliness, isolation, and a loss of identity and purpose. Hunter-gatherers simply did not suffer from these diseases of modernity. But the news isn't all bad. We are still natural, adaptable beings, and knowing where we came from can show us the way forward. If we trace our genetics and behaviors through the history of life, from prokaryotes to mammals to primates to our own human lineage, and if we study how hunter-gatherers utilized their encoded genetics to live a good life, we will learn to live in accord with our biology. Then we can use our intellect and creativity to change our behavior and become physically and mentally healthier within our modern world. Understanding our evolution is a powerful tool to help us make more conscious lifestyle choices and close the gap between our artificial worlds and natural selves. We can embrace the modern enhances in technology and medicine while choosing to live our lives more aligned with our evolved nature. That means shifting our sleep to match the cycle of day and night. It means eating natural food and balanced ratios of nutrients. It means rejecting the corporate rat race and our culture of constant overwork. And it means realizing that we are one part of the natural world and thrive when we leave our four walls behind. Realigning our behavior with our evolution is essential to our welfare and even to our survival in the modern world. Humans, individually, collectively, and through conscious effort, can return to a more instinctive and genetic way of existence. Did hunter-gatherers know the secret of achieving eudaimonia? Maybe not explicitly, but innately they did. Our evolutionary past offers strategies we can use today to help us enhance our quality of life and return to a state of flourishing, to our origin of being. By embracing the essential role of evolution and acting on it, we can rebuild our modern lives to achieve eudaimonia. Thanks again to the Boulder Bookstore for letting us share our book with you. It's at the Boulder Bookstore, but it could also be purchased online. And we can be found, our website is on theoriginofbeing.com. And I like to be on Instagram. We're at On the Origin of Being. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy our book.